We good? Everyone awake out there? So far, so good? Good. It's the middle of the night, and you can't sleep. You see, you know that something big is about to happen, but you aren't sure exactly what. Now, yesterday you baked bread without yeast. You were told there would be no time to watch it rise anyway. Then you got together with your neighbor. You chose the best lamb from among your flock. At dusk, you painted the doorposts of your home with blood. And you sat around the fire eating as much meat as you possibly could before burning the rest. You were going to need that energy for what is to come. Now, you aren't exactly sure what it all means, but people whisper something about finally being free of slavery and that somehow the blood of the Lamb is going to save you and your family. And so you did what you were told. You slaughtered the lamb. You sprinkled the blood. You ate the bread. And now you wait for something to happen. Have you ever found yourself waiting for something to happen? If you live long enough, you will. Maybe you're trying to have a baby. You do everything that the experts tell you to do to ensure success, and then you have to wait 2 weeks to find out if there's one thin blue line or two. Maybe you've applied to your dream university. You worked hard for 4 years, getting good grades, just like they told you to do. You participate in all the right extracurricular activities. Your resume is flawless. Your application essay is a work of art. Everything's been mailed. And now you just wait to see what your future holds. Lately, I've been doing a lot of waiting on test results. Medical test results. Not mine in particular, but for a loved one. Anyone over a certain age can probably relate to this. You spend a lot of your time waiting for test results. You know, it isn't always easy waiting for something to happen. I had a professor once, years ago, tell me that waiting can be a form of suffering. And I believe it, because waiting often means living in the unknown place between our hopes and our fears. We hope to get married, but we're afraid that we'll die alone, surrounded by cats. We hope for the kids to be healthy and happy, but we worry about them constantly. We hope for the Jays to beat the Yankees, but we're afraid Hoffman will blow it in the ninth. They sent him out with a 9-run lead yesterday. It's good. We hope for a certain outcome, but sometimes we fear the worst. Now, speaking of fearing the worst, I want to jump ahead in our story a little bit. It's been nearly a week of walking, 8 to 12 hours a day, which is no easy feat considering that there's about 2.5 million of you. A week ago, death had come to Egypt in the night. A mighty whale went up across the land as death claimed the firstborn of every household and every field. Now, Pharaoh, that was enough for him. That was the straw that broke the camel's back. He told you to get out of here. He'd had enough of all these plagues, and we're glad to oblige. But of course, then he changed his mind. I guess 600,000 able-bodied slaves are kind of hard to replace. So as you travel, you can't help but keep looking back over your shoulder. The Egyptians are right on your heels. They're close at hand. You did have a pretty good head start, so you're not 100% concerned. And also, God goes before you, lighting your way at night, and he goes behind you, obscuring the Egyptians with darkness and confusing them in their travels. So between the head start and God's actions, you just might have a chance at salvation. The only problem is, Moses is leading you into a trap. Now the Egyptians must be giddy as they see where he's heading. He's marching you straight towards an impassable sea on one side and an equally impassable mountain range on the other, especially when you have babies and pregnant mothers and the elderly in your entourage. And so you begin to wonder if maybe this whole leaving thing and following Moses was a bad idea after all. You're not the only one, because people start to grumble. Maybe we should have stayed back in the camp. We were slaves in Egypt, but that's better than dying out here in the unknown, right? And just when things seem like they can't get any worse, that's when something happens. Moses lifts his arms high, and with a rushing wind, the waters part, revealing a 9-kilometer path straight across the sea on a dry lake bed 1 kilometer wide. Freedom is staring you right in the face. And everybody is staring right back. Did that really just happen? And you glance around at each other. What do we do now? Keep following. Someone shrugs. So off you go between the parted waters. You know, when I really think about it, our lives, or at least most of our lives, are lived in between, aren't they? A baby lives in between crawling and walking. A university student lives between tests and test results. A pregnant mother lives between conception and birth. I mean, just think about it. We find ourselves between jobs, between relationships, between seasons. Our entire lives exist between birth and death. And we have very little control over either one, especially the first one. And if waiting is a form of suffering, and if we are always waiting, well, how do we manage to live in between our hopes and our fears? And the answer to that one, like many answers, is pretty simple. We simply live one step at a time. Well, we don't have this, but that's okay. It would have been a great reveal. One step at a time. Because if you're following God one step at a time, you're no longer stuck in between. You see, if you're following God one step at a time, there's only this step that you're taking right now. That's it. There is only now. And God is always present in the now. I mean, it's true, he's present in the past and the future, but we have a hard time comprehending that. But we know that he is with us right here and right now. You see, recovering addicts, they know something that a lot of us fail to grasp at times. And that is that life has to be lived one day at a time. Jesus once famously said, "Do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own." You see, the key to living in between is obedience to the leading of God in your life. If you're faithfully following God in the now, You don't need to worry about what is behind you or even what is in front of you, because right here and right now you are living in the will of God. Whether it's preaching or managing spreadsheets or doing the dishes, when you are doing what you were called by God to do in the moment, you are living in His will and you are living in the now. And if God is with you in the now, then He is going to be with you in the future. And I know it's so easy to say this, and I know that it is scary because we don't know what is to come. And I know it's hard to follow God into the unknown. Just like those Israelites following God to the Red Sea, they were probably freaking out as Moses led them right into what seemed like a trap. But one step at a time, the people of Israel followed God out of Egypt. And one step at a time, they walked with their enemies at their backs. You know, it took a whole night to cross the Red Sea. 2.5 million people carrying all their worldly possessions on their backs don't exactly travel quickly. Now, 40 years later, when they got to the promised land, they had walked countless more steps. They had faced many obstacles. Sometimes they even walked in circles. And I'm sure many of us can relate to that because life rarely travels in a straight line. But, and this is important, they ended up exactly where they needed to be, exactly when they needed to be. And when they got there, they were ready for something big to happen because they had followed God day by day, step by step, and they had learned to trust Him in between. Now, 1,500 years later, a traveling teacher named Jesus sits down at a table with 12 of his closest friends. And these men, they had walked step by step with Jesus for 3 years. Their journey was soon coming to an end, although they didn't quite know it. We know that the journey wasn't ending, it was just beginning. But for them, they faced the great unknown. They were living between their hope in Christ and their fear that it would all come crashing down. Now, at this time, it's the Passover festival. People have traveled from all around to celebrate a supper of unleavened bread and lamb. Wine is passed around, as is tradition. Prayers are offered, scripture is read, food is eaten, speeches are made, all in remembrance of that one time that 600,000 households painted their doorposts with blood, ate a hastily prepared meal, and fled across a dry lake bed to freedom. And it seems like kind of a strange holiday, doesn't it? But then again, we paint eggs in the spring while we say a chocolate bunny delivers eggs. Bunny delivers chocolate eggs in the middle of the night. So who are we to judge? What may be even stranger is that as they sit down to this meal, a liturgy which hasn't changed for 1,500 years, Jesus switches things up. It's always been the same, but not today. For 1,500 years, that story has always been the same, and the rituals have been the same. They pass the cup 4 times. They eat the bitter herbs, the flatbread as usual. They enjoy the meat of the lamb, and they speak the words of the Paschal liturgy, which highlights God's faithfulness in leading His people out of slavery. But tonight was different. You see, this time everyone who were gathered around the table, they could sense that something big was about to happen. And Jesus confirms their suspicions by giving the Passover a new twist. We read in Matthew, while they were eating, Jesus took bread, gave thanks and broke it, and he gave it to his disciples, saying, "Eat. This is my body." In the same way, we've done the very same thing for 2,000 years. Since that very day, we have broken bread and said, "Take and eat. This is the body of the Lord." And he took the cup. He took the cup. He gave thanks. And he offered it to them, saying, "Drink from it, all of you. This is my blood of the covenant, which is poured out for many for the forgiveness of sins. I tell you, I will not drink of this fruit of the vine from now on until that day when I drink it anew in my Father's kingdom." Now, there are a lot of players in this story that they were celebrating that night. Of course, there was God with his inventive plagues. There was Moses, who led them unswervingly. There were the people who followed the leading of the Lord. But Jesus doesn't identify himself with any of them, does he? He identifies himself with that lamb whose blood was spilled so that death would pass over. It's literally in the name. And nobody saw that coming. See, in reality, at this supper, what Jesus was telling them is a new exodus is now upon you. When you see my shed blood, when you see my broken body, get ready to move, because death is coming for me. And this time I'm going to defeat it once and for all. Something big is about to happen. So get ready and follow me.